The Canaanites were known as the most wicked people, and their evil was judged by the people of God all the time. God used Israel to judge Canaan. The Canaanites were idolaters. They had all kinds of evil demon gods. And Rahab was part of that. Secondly, Rahab had no choice really. She was a woman. She couldn't do anything about it. And women at that time were treated as second-class citizens. Very much like many parts of the world today, in many Muslim countries, women are just treated like properties. They're to clean the house and just bear children, nothing else. They have no rights. In some countries, they can't even drive. They should not be on the street without a husband or a brother accompanying them. That's terrible. And so that's the background we find Rahab coming from. Yet God worked through a woman. Many churches despise women. They don't want women leaders. They don't want women in high positions. But God, He uses women. So there's hope for the women as well. Hallelujah. It doesn't matter what's the doctrine of your church. This doctrine overrides your doctrine. God uses women as well. Thirdly, and this is very soft, Rahab was a prostitute. She sold herself for money. God sees potential in every single one of us. The world sees us with one eye. God sees the inside. And so Rahab had all of these things against her. Yet she had one great redeeming factor in her favor. And that is faith. She believed God. She believed God. She makes some utterance that will put some prophets to shame. She knew something. God put something inside of her. And she was able to testify of it. Verses 8 to 24 shows us, as I said, that God can use anyone. But next, God shows us that He can save anyone. There are 5 particular qualities that we see in Rahab's life. And I want us to notice this, mark it down, and also try to learn something from this. And we'll try and read some of those verses that we will refer to. Firstly, Rahab had an openness to the truth. She was not closed like a lot of people. Closed in their minds, closed in their hearts. They've already got a preconceived idea of what Christianity is. And so they closed. Because they've seen their neighbors, because they've seen their families as Christians. And then they say, they are hypocrites. We don't want to have anything to do with Christianity. They are closed. Rahab had an openness to the truth. Let's read verses 8 to 11. Now, before they lay down, that's talking about the 2 young men, she came up to them on the roof. She hid them there, you see. And she said to them, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the terror of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land have melted away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, so Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. And when we heard it, our hearts melted, and no courage remained in any man any longer because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and on the earth beneath. What a testimony from such a woman! Isn't that amazing? She had heard about Israel and Israel's God, but what was it that made her believe in Israel's God? It could have been fear of death. It could have been dissatisfaction with the life she was living, wanting something a lot better than what she had. Maybe she was a religious person seeking a spiritual reality. We might want to call her a seeker. It is exciting to talk to an open-minded person, to someone wanting, someone searching for the truth and for reality. And so Rahab was one who was open to the truth. Are you open to God? To what he'll say to you? Or you come each Sunday morning, listen, and just go off, and nothing happens. You've got to be open. Each time you come, you should be saying, Lord, I'm open to your voice. And whatsoever you say, I want to do it, Lord. God's going to use such people who are open. I know of people who in church for 20, 30, 40 years, nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. The families are the same. It means that they have closed up. The word comes week after week, and they just go back being the same. Let's be open. Is your heart open? Is there a heart that is open today? Jesus is right here, right now, and he's speaking to you. The second quality Rahab had was the courage to make a tough decision. A lot of people don't really have the backbone. I say they have a lot of wishbones, but no backbones. Backbones to make the decision, always passing it off to somebody else. Let's read it in verses 12 to 16. Now therefore, please swear to me by the Lord, since I have dealt kindly with you, that you also will deal kindly with my father's household, and give me a pledge of truth, and spare my father and my mother, and my brothers and my sisters, with all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from debt. So the men said to her, our life for yours, if you do not tell this business of ours, and it shall come about when the Lord gives us the land, that we will deal kindly and faithfully with you. Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was on the city wall, so that she was living on the wall. And she said to them, go to the hill country, lest the pursuers happen upon you, and hide yourselves there for 3 days, until the pursuers return. Then afterward you may go on your way. Now Rahab didn't have much time to think about all of this and plan all of this. All of this was done very fast, very quickly. She had to make a decision there and then. I believe salvation involves a decision on our part. Serving Jesus involves a decision. Standing up for Jesus at our factory, at our office, at our school calls for a decision. Standing up for Jesus in our community calls for a decision. Not for a meeting, for a decision. We must be able to stand up and say, I have made this decision. Serving Jesus calls for a decision. Too long we've been praying about these matters. Too long we've been waiting on God for these matters, but He's waiting on us now. There must be a decision. Who are you going to serve? God or the world? Who are you going to serve? God or your family? Jesus comes first. You've got to make that decision. It's one thing to believe something and another to act upon it. Too many people just talk and very few make the decision. It's decision time. Who are you going to stand with? Not this political party or that political party. Are you standing with Jesus? He says you can't serve two masters. You can't have two masters in your life. You can't have two gods in your life. One will have to die. One will have to get out of the way. In the year that King Uzziah died, Isaiah then saw the Lord high and lifted up. One king had to die. Two kings cannot be on the throne. Uzziah had to die. I don't know who's your king, but you would have to die today, because you can have only one king that can rule over your life. You can't serve two gods. And Jesus makes that absolutely clear to us. And so Rahab had the courage to make a decision. Remember, she had all of her country people, but she stood alone. She didn't go and call for the elders of the country, or the nation, or the community. She had to make a decision. It was do or die. And I believe for some of us here, it's going to be do or die. Make that decision now. The third and very important quality Rahab had was a willingness to join a new family. Something that we find very difficult. We still want to compromise with our Hindu families. We still want to compromise with our business families because we see ourselves in a better light there. But Rahab was prepared and willing to cut off being a Canaanite, cut off being an idolater, cut off every tie with the past, and join something totally and completely new. That took more than guts. And we're afraid to do that. We're afraid to hurt people. We're afraid to hurt our families. We're afraid to hurt our friends. We're afraid to tell them that we have made a decision. That we cannot have them any longer. We cannot have smoking and drinking in our homes. We cannot have certain things in our homes. We have now made a decision to stop it all. Rahab made a decision. And therefore, she now joins a new family. To leave the old life and enter a new one. To enter now the family of God. Let's read 17 to 21. And the men said to her, "We shall be free from this oath to you, which you have made us swear, unless when we come into the land, you tie this cord of scarlet thread in the window, through which you let us down, and gather to yourself into the house your father and your mother and your brothers and all your father's household. And it shall come about that anyone who goes out of the doors of your house into the street, his blood shall be on his own head, and we shall be free. But anyone who is with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head, if a hand is laid on him. But if you tell this business of ours, then we shall be free from the oath which you have made us swear." And she said, "According to your word, so be it." So she sent them away, and they departed. And she tied the scarlet cord in the window.